Well, welcome everybody to this new episode in the webinar series that we are doing on Ecler video systems. Okay, we hope that is as helpful as we expect. Okay, today we're going to be talking about VEO integration on EclerNet Manager. We are going to also explain which are the different categories or type of devices, if you will, that affect VEO products when we work in an EclerNet Manager project. Okay, and also we're going to introduce some of the tools that will help you deliver these functionalities. Okay, and these objectives. So. I assume that almost everyone here will know what EclerNet Manager is, but if maybe someone new and it's the first time that hears about this word or this concept, know that is Ecler's software to configure and manage our audio and video devices. Okay, it will help you set them up and build your project. Okay, and work and make them work all together in the same environment. And also it will help you configure the remote control functionality. Okay, especially with the shaping that you will be able to do with our UCP panels. Okay, so that is a brief recap. So, as we said, EclerNet Manager is the center of the environment here. Okay, one of the main goals we want to achieve is to be able to integrate them and to control remotely all the devices present in an EclerNet Manager project. Okay, so regarding VEO devices, we have two categories. First one, we are calling it compatible hardware. Okay, you can see that VEO2L 4K extensors over video over IP are the ones included in this category. And also we have another category called integrable hardware, okay, where we are including several switchers, the other video over IP extensor, the VEO1C, etc. Okay, so when we talk about compatible hardware, what are we referring to? Well, compatible hardware are those devices that are natively built in the software in EclerNet Manager, okay, that have an actual model programmed in the software and that you can configure and set up directly on the software. Okay. On the other hand, when we talk about integrable hardware, we are talking about those devices that can be controlled using EclerNet Manager, but are not natively included in the software. Okay, we are going to be controlling them through TCP UDP commands. Okay, but depending on the characteristics of the device, of the VEO device, we may need to use another protocol. In that case, it's going to be RS-232 serial commands. Okay, so first up, compatible hardware, as we said, is those devices that are natively built in the software, okay, that you can configure directly in the software. Now I'm going to give you a brief roadmap on how to assign them to a project and to operate them, okay? As we are speaking of VEO2L devices, we already covered that in more depth in another webinar, but as a brief refresh, I think it's going to be useful. So here we have the main window of EclerNet Manager. Okay, first thing we need to do is to locate all the devices that are connected to the system. This we're going to do clicking the U button that we see here. Okay, and then what we need to do is grab every one of the devices that appears in this window and drag it to one of the workspace available, okay? In this example, we just have 2 devices, but imagine that you have a lot more, okay? It's going to be a bit, well, maybe you are lazy, you don't want to drag and drop each one of them to the workspaces to assign them to the project, so you can click the add button here to add them all at once, okay? Once we have the devices assigned to the project, the green indicator will tell us that this is done correctly. We can begin our configuration if we need to, okay? So what do we have to do now is on this space of the devices tag, we can double click on each of the devices. For example, let's double click in the transmitter and the configuration window will automatically open, okay? Here we can see the elements that we can affect, that we can modify. For example, the network information, maybe the channel selection of the item, or in that case, the broadcasting connecting type of connection, okay? Unicast, multicast, etc. So what if we want to add one of these functions or the available ones to a button, okay, on a UCP to remote control this functionality, what we need to do is open the UCP editor, okay? Now here we have an example of one of these. Let's imagine that we want to assign a function to this button. What we need to do is enter design mode, okay, in EclerNet Manager, and double click in the button. When we do this, we're going to see that the select parameter window will open, showing us under the device tag which are the devices connected to the, well, connected and assigned to the project, okay? And below each one of them, it will appear the functionalities that are available to control. We just do have to choose one of them, and that way we are going to lock that feature to the button, to the button, okay? Next up, integrable hardware. We said that integrable hardware was those devices that do not have a model per se on the software, okay, but that can be controlled using it. So the main tool that we're going to be using for this purpose is the netstring button, okay? A netstring button is like a regular button, but it will allow us to send to a defined IP. That's the one that the device that we are going to be controlling has, okay? A single or multiple command is going to be sent to it through this button, okay? This is not only for Ecler devices. We can use it also in third-party devices, so it can be very helpful to integrate not only VEO products, but audio products or maybe lightning products, etc., etc. The sky is the limit, okay, right here. So as we were saying, this button is like a regular button, like the ones used in compatible hardware, okay? But when we enter the configuration mode, double-clicking it, instead of appearing the select parameter window that we saw on the compatible hardware configuration mode, what is going to be appearing is this other window, okay, in where we can type the actual command that we want to send. These commands need to follow a certain format, okay, and need to have certain parameters to identify and to affect the device, okay? So take, for example, this UCP that's related to a VEO product. Here we can see that on the video side, we have an input select area, okay? So if we, for example, wanted to choose this input from the switcher, okay, the command that we ought to write should be like the one showing now, okay. Here you can see that we are following the format that we told you before. We need to define which type of protocol are we going to use. We are going to define also the IP address, the destination IP address of this device. And next, we are going to be introducing the actual command that's going to execute this action. Okay, these commands can come in hexadecimal or in ASCII code. Okay, it's either way compliant with EclerNet Manager. And also, for time adjusting purposes between the system, okay, because sometimes products have different communication processes that require a bit of adjusting in the time frame of the communications. We can also add these auxiliary parameters, okay. For those that are maybe proficiency in coding, you may recognize the first two. The third one is the delay parameter that will actually be the cherry on top, okay, to make the communication easy for those devices that may have a different time frame, okay, internally in order to communicate. The minimal unity, the main unity of this delay is 100 milliseconds. Okay, we can range up to 900 milliseconds. And if we need a bigger delay, what we will have to do to accumulate it is just add one in front of the other. Okay, this way we can accumulate a bigger delay if we needed to. So we said that we could do single commands or multiple commands, but how do we do that? Okay, how can we build a routine with these commands? Well, it's actually very, very intuitive and easy. In the same configuration window, okay, where we showed before that you had to type the commands, you will just have to stack up the multiple commands that you want to send. Okay. Not only this, but if you take a closer look on both squares that are appearing right now, you will see that there are two different IPs. So what this is meaning is that you do not actually just have to, you just can affect one device with multiple commands, but you can also affect more than one device with multiple commands. Okay, this is a very useful thing. Another interesting functionality that EclerNet Manager gives us is the overlaying of buttons. Okay, this is a cool feature for some situations or where maybe you would like to integrate a compatible hardware functionality with an integrable hardware. Okay. And one way to do that is just to, for example, stack one button in top of the other. This way, when you click the actual button with the other one stacked behind, you will trigger all these commands, all these signal commands of the buttons at once. Okay. We recommend doing it the first way, but I think it was interesting, this tip to be shared. Another interesting tip is that, as we said, an integrable hardware has a defined IP. That's the one that we are going to be referring when choosing a command, a functionality to be remotely affected. Okay, so in that case, an external device will ease up this task, because it will act as an interface between EclerNet Manager and the product. So when we open this virtual device, this external device, and we name it with an alias, okay, we can fix a specific IP address and use it later when we type the command. So instead of writing the complete address, okay, on the window, we can type the alias, okay, and EclerNet Manager will automatically translate it. This may not seem very critical when we are working with few devices, but when the list increases, it will be very, very useful in order to quickly identify, okay, which devices are being affected when executing a command, okay, and also it will be very helpful when changing the IP address, because instead of changing it in every button, we just have to change it on the external device related to that product, and it will automatically be changed on all the others. Okay. Earlier before we said that integrable hardware works with TCP UDP commands, but there are some devices that may need another communication protocol due to its hardware. Okay, its physical connectors. Take for example this installation where we have a BOS W44 that, for the ones that may have worked with it, may know that it lacks a LAN connectivity. So the only way to control it is between RS-232. Okay, so I want to focus on this branch right here, where it appears a new element. Okay, this is going to be translating the TCP commands on RS-232 serial commands. Okay, so when you click a button on your control element, okay, it will send the TCP command directly to the interface to ATH232, and it will convert it to an RS-232 serial commands that this switcher understands. Okay, this interface can be configured in a web GUI available. Okay, where you can define the serial parameters the destination hardware has, okay, as well as the IP address that EclerNet Manager needs to address. Okay, so I think it's a lot of information. Okay, so to do a brief refresh of all we talked about integrable hardware here, I'm going to recover the example, okay, that we came up before. This is the UCP that's affecting the selector we talked before. So if we want to give this button the functionality that it shows, that is to select this particular video input, what the steps we need to follow would be, first of all, for commodity purposes, open an external device, okay, name it as we want. Next, we can define the IP address of this device, okay. As we said before, this particular device do not have LAN connectivity, so what we need to do is configure our ETH232 with the parameters appropriate to affect it, and then write the command that we need to be executed when triggering the button. Okay, so this is a brief recap of the steps to follow, as we said. And actually, this is it for now. Okay, I hope that this was more clarifying. Okay, about the two categories and the tools needed to control VEO products on EclerNet Manager. If you need to go in depth on this topic, feel free to contact us. Okay, and we will help you through it.